All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, if you're a fan of college sports or just sports in general, then yesterday's action in college football was for you. Five of the top 11 teams in the AP Top 25 poll lost yesterday, with the most shocking one, of course, coming in the ACC, on the SEC rather, where top-ranked Alabama fell to Vanderbilt. We also saw Tennessee lose to Arkansas, USC fall to Minnesota, Missouri got destroyed courtesy of Texas A&M, and then Michigan fell in Seattle to the Washington Huskies. Huge shakeup, of course, in the top 25 today. We saw Alabama fall 6 spots to seventh, Tennessee 4 spots to eighth, Missouri 12 slots to 21st. Michigan went down 14 spots to 24th, and the biggest loser out of them all was USC, as they're not even ranked this week in the top 25. And for Alabama, what can you say? I mean, after the thrilling win just last Saturday night at home over Georgia, the Crimson Tide, to me, just took their foot off the throttle yesterday, as they played as if all they had to do was show up against Vanderbilt, and it was Vanderbilt who showed up. Because you look at this Alabama defense in that second half of that Georgia game, they had their struggles, and then of course that continued yesterday as the Crimson Tide gave up 418 yards to the Commodores, while their offense held the football for less than 18 minutes. Alabama never had the lead yesterday. Okay. And that's something that you don't think about with this Alabama program for so long. But nonetheless, they've got to get back on track. And that's no disrespect to Vanderbilt, because we've seen Vanderbilt show signs of improvement this year. I mean, they gave Missouri a run for their money, but nonetheless, Vandy was ready to play yesterday. It's going to be a swing of emotions for Alabama, because it's the highs and lows. You beat Georgia, you just lost to Vanderbilt, and now you've got to come back at home and get ready for South Carolina as you try to get back on track. For Tennessee, they ran into a tough and determined Arkansas team last night. We saw the Razorbacks lose their starting quarterback, Taylor Green, in a very physical affair. They even lost their starting kicker. But this Razorbacks defense really brought it last night, slowing down Nico Ayamaleva and this Volunteers offense, holding them to 14 points. And it's a different vibe around this team this year in compared to last under head coach Sam Pittman. For Missouri, they just had a reality check waiting for them yesterday in College Station. I mean, Texas A&M is a solid team, okay? And Missouri, they have been skinning by in recent weeks. And guess what? That road trip yesterday to College Station, to me, I think was a reality check for the Tigers. And then, of course, the rematch of the national championship game this past January. Of course, a lot of the participants in that game were no longer with these respective programs. But for Michigan, they've had offensive struggles all season long. And I think that was highlighted last night. We saw the quarterback change. Also, on top of that, it's one of those where this was Michigan's first road game of the season. And you know what? Their struggles were magnified against Washington. You look at USC, they were never able to get a hold on things, never able to put Minnesota away last night. And guess what? They paid for it. And you look at SC, they have yet to win a road conference game within the Big Ten since they became members now. At the end of the day, winning on the road in conference is not an easy thing to do. Plain and simple. We've seen the landscape of college football change, the parity, the NILs, you name it. But nonetheless, you got to go out there and take care of your business, and everybody is competing. Yesterday, for me, just had a March Madness type of vibe to it, as the games yesterday really shook up the playoff race. And you look at it, of course, now in the AP Top 25, top 10, you've got Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Clemson. And look at Clemson. After getting blown out to begin this season, courtesy of Georgia and Atlanta, the Tigers now find themselves in the top 10. And I think there's still going to be a lot of moving and shaking between now and the end of the year as teams are vying for position to make the college football playoff. So you look at the five top 11 teams that lost yesterday, and you ask yourself, who has the best position to rebound? First and foremost, I'm going to say it was the two SEC teams at the top, and I'm talking about Alabama and Tennessee. It's one of those where you look at Alabama's schedule; they still have an opportunity to get to the SEC championship game, of course, but they've got to go out there and take care of their business. I think this team should be able to get back on track, and I expect the same for Tennessee. I'm not saying that Tennessee is going to get to the SEC championship game and win it, but they're going to be one of the upper echelon teams, and they still have an opportunity to get to the playoff. I think from here on out, it's going to be tough for Missouri, USC, and Michigan for different reasons. For Missouri, it's one of those where they were a top 15 team for the most part to begin this season, but you know what? A lot of people are not respecting nationally. And then you look at USC, both USC and Michigan now have two losses on the season. This was Michigan's first conference loss. And then, of course, if you're SC, now you've lost two games within your conference. So it's going to be an uphill battle going forward. At the end of the day, college football is just like it is in the National Football League. We talk about it all the time in the NFL. On any given Sunday, anybody can win. And clearly, right now, the name of the game in college football on any Saturday, anybody can go out there and win as well. And it's only going to get crazier because we see a plethora of schools that really feel like they have a legit shot to get to the college football playoff. We've expanded the postseason, and I think with that, there's going to be more fun and excitement and parity as far as the race is on. So you look at Alabama; they've got to get back on track this Saturday at home against South Carolina. Missouri's on the road against UMass. You know that the Tigers are going to be heavily favored in that one. USC host Penn State, and of course, this is supposed to be one of those marquee games for this upcoming Saturday, Separation Saturday, Showdown Saturday, whatever you want to call it. But now Penn State is traveling west to take on an unranked Trojan squad. And I'll tell you like this, that does not take away from any of the excitement of that game. I still think it's going to be a dandy anytime you're talking about two national brands like Penn State and USC facing off on the gridiron. Then, of course, Tennessee, they're going to host Florida in Knoxville next Saturday night. Should always be interesting with that rivalry game as well. And then, of course, we got some other big ones on the docket next Saturday, which includes Texas and Oklahoma in their annual jaunt at the Texas State Fair in Dallas. Ole Miss travels to LSU. Of course, Ohio State and Oregon getting it on in Eugene. So I think we are in store for an exciting Saturday. Want to see how these teams get back on track. And like I said before, this race for the college football playoff is going to be crazier than ever. But just when we thought we've seen it all, top 25 teams were dropping like crazy. And Miami found a way to escape for the second week in a row. Last week it was Virginia Tech. Yesterday they had to have a frantic comeback, on the road in Berkeley against a good Cal team. So when it's all said and done, let's see if Miami can keep rolling as they try to win the ACC and get to the college football playoff. But nonetheless, it's exciting, it's frantic, and at the end of the day, simply expect the unexpected for what is turning out to be a very wild college football season. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.